create that database and who was going to be allowed to ask for it. But in the end, the principle of the matter is this. So that's a case, a conglomerate case, where data was considered part of the solution.
Thank you. Very, very good. You have, John, something?
Fairly briefly, I think that there's a danger with trendy things like big data that we sort of lose track of normal antitrust approaches to things. And I think those apply to big data much as they do to other things. Yes, big data raises some additional concerns, particularly around privacy. But within the sort of antitrust framework, what is big data? Well, it's an asset. What kind of asset is it? Well, if you talk to people who know more about big data than I do, and a couple of colleagues of mine in Compass published a paper on this last year, the asset, the value in big data is not so much in the data itself, it is in the ability to acquire and process it. And that is an asset which is not necessarily replicable. It is potentially rivalrous. So there is potentially a concern around foreclosure there. But equally, and this I think is supposed to be the theme of this panel, there are positive efficiency stories to tell around that as well, as one might have in a vertical case, whether it's a merger or a vertical concern. If acquiring that data has zero marginal cost, then clearly there's double marginalization concern. So there's potential value in a vertical merger there, and eliminating those, you can price things more efficiently. But I think probably the most important one is likely to be around hold-up, around the specifics of that data and whether other companies who need to use that data are prepared to undertake investments that are specific to that particular data source in order to make the best use of it. In those circumstances, you often get a kind of market failure between the upstream firm that has an asset and the downstream firm that wants to build things that use that asset. And it's entirely imaginable that a vertical merger could resolve those problems and thus result in a more efficient use of that data and more effective use of that data for consumers or for others. And typical vertical problem, exactly the same concern, exactly the same thinking would then lead you potentially to the concerns about foreclosure, because one could stop other people doing the same thing. So I think it needs to be addressed like other vertical mergers, pro and against.
We've more or less run out of time, but if any of you would like, in an allocation of anywhere between 60 and 75 seconds, to say something about the role of third parties and what type of third parties are credible.